You're in Braves country.
Welcome in, Braves country. This is something we are doing new for 2024. We are doing the post-game show over on this link, on a separate link, and the reason being is so that if folks want to catch the post-game show later on, they don't have to go through a 3-hour or whatever it ends up being of the ball game feed. And so that's why we're doing it this way, so that people can catch it later on. We're doing a post-game show for every single game that we can. There'll be every great once in a while we're not going to be able to do one if it's like a late night game and you have to be up super early the next morning. But other than that, we're planning on doing pregame shows on the same feed as the game, and then the postgame show will be separate. We're not trying to make too many different feeds, but we just talked about it a lot, and I really do think that's probably the best way to do it. All right, let's go ahead and get into the game. I'm going to try to pull up the game itself so I can turn the lamps off behind me so you can see a little better. But the Atlanta Braves win this one in a turns out to be a laugher. It's not what I was expecting, because the Atlanta Braves win this one 9-3. And what's funny about it, like if you're just joining, if you're just getting off work and you're wondering, okay, how in the world they go out there and beat up on Zach Wheeler? We didn't. We didn't beat up on Zach Wheeler. That's the point. Zach Wheeler was Zach Wheeler. For my money, I mean, outside of Spencer Strider, you can make the argument he's the best pitcher in the National League. And he outpitched Spencer today. But the bullpen finally reared its ugly head in Philadelphia, as it's known to do, and the Atlanta Braves end up pulling this game off. And I just think it's a great way to start the season. Look, it's not the end of the world if we end up going and losing the first game of the season. We know that. But it is a pretty cool thing when you can get the win, when you can go in and get that W and realize that you're able to go in, get the win in Philadelphia, especially when they get to Spencer Strider. When they get to Spencer Strider like that, that to me is about as big as it gets. It really is, because you're talking about going in and beating them in game one. Now, game two, we're going to have Max Fried versus Aaron Nola. It's another even match. That's why most people believe that we're going to end up playing these same Phillies in October once again. We may not want to hear that. We may not want to see that, but look, the proof is in the pudding. And when it's all said and done, I think you're going to end up with these two teams probably in the NLCS. I don't know that to be a fact, but I would say that there's a good chance that we get a couple of these teams in the at least get one of these teams in the NLCS, and it really all comes on down to how they play that out, right? So that part's a little impossible to navigate. I still say, and we'll talk about that more down the road, but they need to change the playoff format. And what I've been, please, by the way, please smash that like button while you're climbing in here. Trying to get folks to be able to find us a lot easier. But I would like to see a change in the playoff system. Essentially, the main thing that I would like to see him go to more than anything else, I'm not worried about making it perfect. You're never going to make it perfect. But the teams that win the division, they should not get penalized, right? They just shouldn't. They should not get penalized. And they're getting penalized right now when you win the division and you've got one of the top two records in the sport, and your last game is on Sunday and you don't play again till Friday or Saturday. That's ridiculous. And I'll lay out real quick, and then we'll get into this game. Get rid of these off days. If you did not become the division winner and have one of the top 2 spots, you don't get an off day. At the most, you get one. But I say that off day would be that Monday, just so everyone can get their weathers around them and get organized. Go Monday is a travel day, and then Tuesday, game 1, Wednesday is a doubleheader. A doubleheader, and then Thursday, you start round 2. Now, in theory, I would actually like Monday, doubleheader Tuesday, and let's start it in game 3. That way you really get hurt by not winning your division. But I don't think you'll ever get that one passed. I think you're going to have to give some concessions at some point to giving one day off. But that's okay. Your Atlanta Braves win this one 9-3. And normally we've been doing this. We've been doing this for a while. So we're going to go ahead and give away the game ball. I'm sorry. I know you can give it away to about 90 million people because all the bats that came through in this game, it really was remarkable. But I'm going to have to give this game ball because it was such a big hit. It was such a big hit, and it's a coming home party, and he stepped up in the biggest way. I'm giving the game ball to Adam Duvall. Now, look, you could go a million different ways. Honestly, if we're going off the sheer numbers of it, Matt Olson went 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Michael Harris, he ended up 3 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. And honestly, I think he was 4 for 5. I still think he was safe. But Orlando Arcia had a hell of a game too, 3 for 5. But just because of the moment and Duvall stepping in and Duvall getting that 2 RBI double in a spot in the game where if he doesn't come through with that hit, who knows what happens, and who knows if the Philadelphia bullpen actually absolutely implodes. But that's not what happened. He came through in a big way, and that's why I'm giving the game ball to Adam Duvall. If this was a regular game, any normal circumstances, I'm probably leaning with Orlando Arcia. That's the other one that I'm thinking about. Orlando Arcia going 3 for 5 after dealing with all the nonsense. So you almost want to tie on the game ball because you got Duvall coming back, and then you got Orlando Arcia dealing with him. But I'm gladly persuaded. If you think differently, put it in the chat if you think it should go to someone else. But anyways, Atlanta Braves win this one 9-3. Look, he had the one bad showing, the one bad pitch, the home run ball to Bryson Stott. But all in all, Spencer Strider was phenomenal. And you're going to get that from time to time in baseball. You're going to get a pitch that just doesn't hit the mark, and they hit it in the sweet spot, and away we go. 5 innings, 8 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, 3 hits. On opening day, nonetheless, he threw 90 pitches. That's about as big as you're going to get on opening day. Now, look, Zach Wheeler, he was phenomenal. He went 6, gave up 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, and he was just absolutely bonkers once again, 89 pitches. He didn't give up any runs, and the bullpen was the Achilles heel. Alvarado got absolutely just smoked. But I agree, Nathaniel. The revenge is a dish best served this game. But Alvarado, look, I think most Philly fans know. They knew that this was going to be the biggest question mark on this Phillies team going into this season, which was the Philadelphia Phillies, their bullpen. Their starting pitching is actually pretty solid this year. Their offense, we know they're going to score. But what's that bullpen going to be like? Now, I still think Dombrowski's going to go out at the deadline. I think he's going to go out there and bring in whatever he thinks he has to bring in. But just realize something. If you're a Philly fan or if you've got friends who are Phillies fans, you want to razz them or whatever, you got to be in the playoff hunt to make those trades in July. And most teams don't want to trade their bullpen pieces earlier than July. And the main piece that everybody was saying in the offseason, hey, Philly is gonna lock up that bullpen when they go get Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Brewers because the Brewers are rebuilding. Then Devin Williams ends up with the back injury. He's out at least 3 months. We don't even know if Devin Williams is going to pitch the rest of the year. And so that's a big deal. That's a big deal. By the way, how about we're 6-0 on the bets this year? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. If you missed the video from earlier, we still have 2 more for tonight. It's Miami money line and Houston money line. And we're doing those every day. I'll be recording another one that'll be dropping. If you're a member, you'll get it instantly. If you are not a member, you're going to get it about an hour or so before first pitch. And once again, it's 9 cents a day. It's $2.99 a month to be a member. And you're going to get the picks first. You're going to get everything first, and along with all the other perks that we won't have time to get into today. But tomorrow's game, Braves versus Phillies, that's going to be a fun one. But the action tomorrow on Saturday is actually starting at 1:40 again. So the Mets and Brewers are going to be playing once again. Mets, by the way, did end up losing that game. And so they started off 0-1. The Marlins, they started off 0-1. I didn't get a chance to see the game. I was paying attention to it for a while, but I was reading up on it from some of the Marlins beat writers, and I guess the Marlins just lost it in extra innings, 12 innings yesterday. And from my understanding, what they were saying is that their offense just didn't come through in the extra innings. They lost to the Pirates. Well, when you don't sign anybody in the offseason, that's going to happen. And if you missed it, there was a trade a couple of days ago, right before first pitch of opening day. The Marlins traded John Birdie to the Yankees. And so that's going to be interesting. And you know what? I'm so glad, because that guy's been a thorn in our side for as long as I can remember. It was a 3-team trade. Yankees, Rays, and Marlins were involved. It was a 3-team trade. You have to look it up to see the whole trade. But John Birdie's out of Miami, and I'm glad. I'm here for it. John Birdie, he is one of the biggest pains to deal with. And he's never going to be this big game-changing type of player. But when you have that guy coming off the bench or having that guy platoon and that speed that he has, he is just a pain. I'm glad to see him leave the NL East. Braves win it 9-3. And my biggest takeaway from this, first of all, they get down 2-0. You didn't see the panic. You didn't see the panic. You saw them come in. You saw them have the kind of composure you want them to have, not just in the regular season, but in October. And the offense finally came through. But they're going to have to make some kind of an adjustment to their game plan with Zach Wheeler, because Zach Wheeler just continues to pound the Braves, and you have to get him out of the game to have a chance. And look, I get it. Zach Wheeler, you can make the argument, maybe the best right-hander in the game top to bottom. I'd still take Spencer Strider because of his youth. But when you're talking about just in general, he may be the best, especially in the National League, especially with Garrett Cole being on the shelf. But even with that being said, you can't just all of a sudden just pack up your lunch and go, well, we can't beat them, so we'll just have to punt that game. You got to find a different game plan that's going to work with Zach Wheeler. And I don't have the answers, obviously. Hell, if I did, I'd have Seitzer's job, right? But they're going to have to come up with some kind of a game plan to beat Zach Wheeler. At least get him out of the game earlier. You may not even score, but you got to find a way to get his pitch count up, whatever that may be. Because once again, Zach Wheeler was a problem. You know, Aaron Nola tends to pitch us pretty well as also, and we face him tomorrow. But the dominance of Zach Wheeler is the story every single game. Every single game we face him, he can be in a slump, and that dude will roll out of bed and throw 6 innings and fire half a dozen strikeouts with no earned runs. It's unbelievable, and it'll drive me crazy because then you see him go up against, later in the year he'll have an outing against the Marlins where he gives up like 6 runs in 3 innings. You go, where the hell is that Zach Wheeler at? But when he is dialed in and he is motivated and he is focused, he's as good as they are. I still like what we got out of Strider. Love the way the bullpen came in. Jimenez to Johnson to Mentor. We didn't need to grab one of the other back halves. But how great is this? Our biggest concern right now, obviously, is the health of Sean Murphy. If you missed it earlier, Sean Murphy left the game with what looks like an oblique injury, and he is, I'm sure, getting evaluated right now, and we'll have to see what happens. But I'm thinking, especially with it being early in the season, there's not much of a chance. They're calling it left oblique tightness, but man, the way he winced, if you missed it, he winced and was heading towards the dugout, and even when he was going in, I saw 2 different angles, the Philly camera and the Braves camera, and both of them looked like that he was wincing just to step down. And it's game number 1. You know what I say to that? Sit him down. Let him go get healthy. Let's not aggravate anything. Let's get through this. You got a few different catchers that you can pull up in this situation. And I would prefer to see them take it easy because, look, this team, assuming we can stay healthy, we don't get riddled with injuries. You hate that in the first game that your starting catcher gets hurt. That's never a great thing. We're just one of the few teams that has the actual depth to be able to roll a Travis d'Arnaud. There's no one that can do that. Your starting catcher goes down for 27, 28 other teams in Major League Baseball, and it's a problem. Travis d'Arnaud, although he's not going to be able to go out there every day, he can go out there and make a difference in that very first round. You know, when you talk about Travis d'Arnaud and what would the likelihood be of who they would bring up, I mean, the first guy that comes to mind, I just want to double check and see where they are on that. But the first guy that comes to mind, we talked about earlier, was Chadwick. But the Braves, they could go through tomorrow, in theory, and say, we're not going to put him on the IL yet. We're going to see how it goes. But you're playing kind of a dangerous game going into a game with only one catcher. So that's where the problem comes in. It's not that Travis d'Arnaud can't go out there and start tomorrow and be fine, because he can, right? But the simple fact, on the 40-man roster right now, they're going to have to make a move. That's what I was looking at. That's what I thought. Right now on the 40-man roster, you only have Travis d'Arnaud and Sean Murphy. And so, as far as that 40-man roster, that's going to be tough. And you're going to have to make some kind of a move to bring guys up, because unless he just wakes up tomorrow and everything's fine, he's doing handsprings, you can't go out there with the one catcher. So that's my biggest concern. When we jump on the pregame show tomorrow, we'll talk more about it. So I don't want to speculate and guess, but I do believe that it looked like oblique tightness, like they're saying, but it looked more than that. And we know these oblique injuries, especially to catchers, I mean, that can be well over a month on the shelf, because you got to let it heal, and then he's got to get revved back up. And he's just started, so it's almost like starting from scratch. But the Braves win 9 runs, 13 hits, no errors. Philadelphia, 3 runs, 5 hits, 1 error. We gave the game ball pretty much for nostalgia to Adam Duvall, but you could give it to Michael Harris. You could give it to Orlando Arcia. Matt Olson as well. He had some big hits. And I think this team, if they can win one of the next 2 games, they're going to have a great taste going out of Philadelphia to win the series. And it's Fried and then Sale. And then it looks like it's going to be Charlie Morton on Monday in Chicago to face the White Sox, and Ronaldo Lopez will be Tuesday, unless they want to flip-flop that. But right now they have said it's going to be Strider, Fried, and Sale, and it's presumed that Charlie Morton goes to the bump on Monday, and then Ronaldo Lopez, and then even though you got the rain out and the game pushed back, it would still be on normal rest. Spencer Strider could pitch on Wednesday. So that doesn't screw that up. That could have screwed things up if things were set up a little differently, but we'll see if anything that happens right now. And they are talking to Snicker, and they're starting their post-game show. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. If you want to check out the Snicker quotes, if you don't feel like sitting through all that, don't worry. We'll get the audio for you tomorrow. We will see you, manana. Braves country. We got the W. Great seeing y'all. Came out in full force. It was good seeing y'all. It's been a long, long winter, and it was good to see some of the Philly fans in there. We had some of the more well-behaved ones, but probably because the game was at 3 o'clock and they weren't sauced yet. So there you go. There you go. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, 3:30, right here, pregame show, and then first pitch, 4:05. We'll bring you pitch-by-pitch, play-by-play of your Atlanta Braves, Braves Country Baseball. Have a great one, y'all.
You're in Braves country.
Join the country club today. The first month is free. You'll have access to badges, one-of-a-kind emojis to display your Braves pride throughout the ball game. You'll also get instant access to our video drops, members-only chat, wallpapers, and more is on the way. Help support Braves Country Radio. Join the country club today. Lineup for Braves Country by DM Magee, 2024. A is for Aaron, the Hammer and Hank, the real home run king. Take that to the bank. B is for Bobby. Cox never cowered. He'd give Blue quite an earful on his way to the showers. C is for Chipper. Don't call him Larry. He would show up in Shea, the Mets he would bury. D is for David. Justice he'd bring. A Game 6 solo brought Atlanta their ring. E is for Eddie Matthews. 512 bombs away. Lit skies from Boston to Milwaukee to the A. F is for Fred. McGriff dog-biting crime. A fire was lit the day he arrived. G is for Glavin. Southpaw winds and kicks, changing speeds east and west, a gem in Game 6. H is for Harry and his brother George Wright, the father of baseball, Boston pennants in flight. I is for inning, ending double play, Riley to Ozzie to Olsen all day. J is for Jones. Andrew let her fly, and his gloves in center is where singles would die. K is for strikeouts, a plenty from Strider, the quads in the stash, getting swings from that slider. L is for Lopez. Javi to B-Mac. Travis and Smurf, we've been lucky to see that. M is for Mad Dog. He won 355. Could swat flies with the changeup and still bust you inside. N is for Necro. He got to the hall by bending and knuckling and floating that ball. O is for Otis. Old Nixon could fly. The catch at the wall baffled our eyes. P's still for Peterson. We were all rockin' pearls. With Eddie and Jorge, we were out of this world. Q is a quandary for why Dale is not in. Murphy MVPs again and again. R is for ranking. The top pitcher's lore. Remember Kid Nichols, 107 WAR. S is for Smoltzy. The big three in the hall. When the game's on the line, you give John the ball. T is for Tyler, Matzik, and the gift of 2021, the entire night shift. U is for Chavez, but we say Uncle Jesse. The frames, the release, kept the batters guessing. V is Van Weeren, Skip Carey 2, Don Ernie Joe, the tales from the booth. W is Warren, Spawn Johnny Sane. They'd ride him in Boston and then pray for rain. X is Mazzoni. Yeah, X marked the spot. Leo rocked next to Bobby, and his pitchers stayed hot. Why it makes us feel young. The game's main appeal. Chopping through the battery, there's no better feel. Z is for Zip Boom Bam, Rama Lama Ding Dong. Throughout the summer, we sing that song. From AJ to eyeglasses and a hell of a pen. Mad Max, Uncle Charlie, win after win. A cannon from short, and RC you later. Acuna Matata, there is no one greater. Though you can't fit them all when you just A to Z. Think of your favorites in the rafters we see. I started with 3, then 10, 25, 47, 31, and of course 29. Let's not forget 21, 41, 35, the great 44, or 755, and old number 6, who led his great teams. The pennants were flying, it felt like a dream. From Boston to Milwaukee, to Atlanta's TBS, a family, a tradition, Braves Country's the best. Lineup for Braves Country by DM Magee, 2024.